Hello, you're all very welcome to our webinar today. I would like to introduce you to the Dean of Law, Professor Imelda Maher, who will be doing an introduction into studying a Master's in Law in UCD Sutherland School of Law.
Thanks, Una. Hi, everybody. You're very welcome this afternoon, virtually at least, anyway, to UCD Sutherland School of Law. My name is Imelda Maher. I'm Dean this year, and I'm also the Sutherland Full Professor of European Law. I've taught on the LLM here for the last, and some of the MSCs as well, for the last 20 years. So I think I'm well placed to say a few words about it. And I'm really happy that we've also got some of our current students with us who are going to talk to you after I've done the introductions today. So we have Jamie Cox, and Jamie is a second-year Masters in Common Law student. He is a graduate of Trinity College Dublin, where he studied ancient and medieval history and culture. We also have Elliot Baude. Elliot is studying the LLM in International Commercial Law, and he is a BCL Maîtrise graduate from UCD and Université Toulouse 1 Capitole. He is the scholarship holder for the Doreen Fitzgerald Caprani Master Scholarship in Law. And finally, you will hear from Emma Darcy. Emma is studying for the LLM in EU Law and Governance, and she is a Law with Irish graduate from UCD here, and she's the scholarship holder for the Declan McCourt Scholarship. I'm very grateful to our students for giving up their time at this point in the year as they're getting all their assessments ready to hand in and preparing for exams, so thanks very much. A little bit first about UCD. So we're listed in the top 150 law schools in the world. We've been around since 1911. UCD itself was established in 1854. We were originally in the centre of the city, but we're now about a 20-minute bus ride from the centre on what is, by European standards at least, a large campus. It's lots of greenery and interspersed with modern buildings, including a new teaching and learning centre, which we're very excited about because of the way it allows for collaborative learning, and which will open in January. The law school itself has its own premises, which is really nice because it gives a very strong sense of community as the students are here for most of their classes, certainly at master's level. And there's lots of study spaces that are provided as well, which I think really helps people getting ready for the work. And if you have any group work or collaborative work also, it's useful. And the school itself, the ethos, our values are centered around, authenticity, integrity in terms of research and scholarly endeavor. I suppose as Dean, I'd summarize it as our job is to make sure that you achieve your best. And you decide what that best is in terms of what you study, the subjects that you choose to take on, and what your career aspirations are. But we're interested in people realizing their authentic selves while they're with us intellectually. In terms of programs we offer on the master's side, we have 11 master's programs. We admit between 100 and 150 students every year. We have a total student population of about 1,500 law students. And we're located right next to the business school. At undergraduate level, our students tend to combine law and business. There's 50 faculty and 14 professional staff who do a great job looking after the faculty and looking after the students, and about 35 PhD students as well who work with us, who mainly are engaged in their own scholarship, but also work with us on our research and do small amounts of teaching. We have Ireland being a small island and being English speaking, it's perhaps inevitable that as a law school, we're very outward looking. So we're distinctively Irish on one level. We're very committed to our European identity, if you wish, and with very strong outward focus. So this means we've got 40, I beg your pardon, we have 50 international partners around the world, partner institutions, that is. We also have very many eminent adjuncts affiliated with us. From many institutions around the world and from many different countries, as well as eminent practitioners, including some from New York and London, who assist us in our teaching as well, and do many other things for us, actually. We have a big imprint here in Ireland. For example, the current Minister for Justice, the current Chief Justice, the Attorney General, they're all UCD law graduates. The first woman ever to be President of the European Court of Human Rights, Dr. Siofra O'Leary, is one of our graduates, as is Dr. Michael O'Flaherty, who is currently the Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights. Looking back further in history, V.V. Giri was the 4th President of India, We can't claim him as an alumnus because at the time the British government did not allow him to graduate before they sent him back to India from UCD, because it was the time, 1916, it was the time of revolution here. And I think they were worried of what influence the Irish revolutionaries might have had on him. And they were right to be worried because, of course, he was heavily involved in the liberation movement in India that led to independence in 1947. More recently, the former mayor of the City of London is Vincent Keaveney, also a graduate of ours and a partner in DL, one of the major law firms in London. And just to mention that the name today is Peter Sutherland. The building is named for Peter Sutherland, who was a major donor to the law school. And you may have come across him. He passed away in 2018, but he was an EU commissioner. He was the director of the World Trade Organization when the WTO was being set up, and subsequently became a chairman in Goldman Sachs. So that's kind of broad context, looking specifically then at our master's programs. And I should mention that the webinar is being recorded and will be available in a few days' time on our website. So you can always, if you miss anything, you want to look back at anything, you can always go and have a look at the webinar. So what masters? As I said, about 100 students. We have 11 programs, and we would pride ourselves on having small classes. So the average size might be between 10 and 20 students. There would be a few modules that would have more numbers than that, but generally it's quite small. Generally it's a seminar format. And we're quite, like, I teach a module on international competition law, and last year when I taught it, we had 13 nationalities in the class. So it's quite diverse, which I find quite exciting because you can't make any assumptions. You're challenged all the time in the way you think, which is very rewarding. If you can take the general LLM, but if you take a specific module, a specific program, such as the international commercial law, you have certain core modules you must take. But beyond that, there's quite a range of modules that you can choose from. So we can cater to your individual interests. The LLMs and the MSCs are for one-year programs with 3 modules in each semester and a dissertation over the summer in broad terms. Everything's through English. We speak English, and we speak a bit of Irish as well, of course, but in class we teach everything through English. And we're close to Dublin, we're close to the sea, we're close to what we call mountains. I said we're small, everyone else would call them hills. We have our non-EU graduates can avail of Ireland's 2-year stay-back visa programme, which is quite important, I think. And I'll tell you a little bit about the choices then that we have in terms of our different programmes. So the 6 LLM programmes, there's an LLM general, but in addition, you can specialise in intellectual property and information technology, or in international commercial, which is what Elliot is doing, international human rights, criminology and criminal justice, and EU law and governance. And all of those, I think one of the benefits is you can start in September, which is when most students start, but a substantial number will also start in January each year. The masters we offer from non-law disciplines, if you like, is the MSc in Environmental and Climate Law. And this is an online program only. So international students pay the same fees as domestic students, and everything is online and suitable for all graduates of all disciplines. Again, a January or September start. We offer an MSc in International Law and Business, where you combine law modules with those from business, and it's open to law, business, or economic graduates. Again, January, September start. There's an MSc in Criminology and Criminal Justice, also open to non-law graduates as well as law graduates, and an MSc in European Governance. Now, the MSc is actually a dual degree. We're twinned with the University of Utrecht in the Netherlands. So you spend 1 year in UCD, then you go to Utrecht for your 2nd year, and you end up with 2 master's degrees. And when you go to Utrecht, Utrecht has created a kind of hub and spoke arrangement. So they have twinned with 4 other universities, and all those students converge in Utrecht in the 2nd year of their degree. So they all study together, which I think is a really nice format. And finally, we have the Masters in Common Law, which is a 2-year program, which is designed for those who didn't realize at the start of their university career that really what they wanted to do was law. So they come into us and spend 2 years with us and gain a qualifying degree. There's some scholarships available. That information is available on our website. Where do people go afterwards? Obviously, Careers Matter. We have a really good career service. which works with all our students actually. The main thing is you just have to register with them and choose to engage with them. Our degrees are well regarded by law firms, and people go to work for places like KPMG. I'm looking at a list here: Ernst Young, Yahoo, Vodafone, the UN, Squarespace. Though I'm not really sure what that is, but these are some of the logos that Una kindly gave me before I spoke to you today. Yeah, we take great pride in our students, and we expect them to be very good ambassadors for us when they graduate. And we love to see how they grow and achieve as they go through life. And we also love when they stay in touch and come back to visit us in future years. And I hope that that if this discussion today appeals to you, that you will maybe come and join us and what we do here in Dublin. There's lots of information Una will provide for you. She's going to set up an email on the chat, so you will know where to go if you have any further queries. So thanks for listening to me. I'll hand you over to Jamie now, who'll talk to you about the Masters in Common Law. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Imelda. Hi, everyone. My name's Jamie. I'm a second year student here at the MCL and UCD. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to spend a really brief period just talking about why I decided to do the Masters, my own personal experience of it, and then just give some information about the overall structure of the module and time commitment and things like that. So I studied ancient and medieval history in Trinity College Dublin, and for a while after that, that's what I presumed I was always going to want to do, was just do a PhD in that, and then very quickly realized that wasn't the case. So when I decided that it was a law degree that I kind of wanted to think of pursuing, you're hit with a lot of options of what is the best way to do that, because should I choose something that will only take 1 year, 2 years? What really made the MCL stand out to me and appeal to me as the perfect way to go about that was the fact that you are given the experience to study all of the baseline material you need to study for you're going to do the FU1s or the King's Inns, but you're also given the opportunity to branch out into other areas of law that you wouldn't be able to if you'd only studied that material for 1 year. And that's really the big advantage of studying this for 2 years, is getting to find little niche areas of law that you might be interested in so you don't constrain yourself. In terms of how I'm finding it, I can only really recommend the course, to be honest. Like I've found an absolutely brilliant time. I'm in my second year now, and I've gotten to learn so much doing it. In your first year, you study essentially all of the material you need to go on to do the FE1s. I think there's 2 modules in second year you need after that, and then you're set to go. And having studied for my FE1 this year, I found that just made a massive difference. The like in terms of teaching quality, it's just absolutely brilliant. You get really hands-on experience in terms of seminar. You get taught personally by the lecturers, which is just a really great way to kind of get to further grips with material and just get to study it in even more detail. In my second year, it's because you get to study optional material. I've got to go on to do things like internet law, insolvency law. It's just stuff that I wouldn't have been able to study if I hadn't done the MCL. So in that sense, yeah, I can only recommend it. It's been absolutely brilliant. Um, like in terms of the structure of the course, the way it works is in your first year, you study, it's all compulsory. So it's 6 year long modules in EU law, contract law, constitution, property, criminal, and tort. And those are 6 of the subjects you need to do the FE1s. So if you're thinking of going on to be a solicitor, by the time you finish the first year, you're over halfway there to being able to go on to do that. In your second year, then it's 4 compulsory 1 year-long modules in administrative law, equity and trusts, um, law of evidence, and I can't remember the fourth one now, actually. Um, and then you also get to study some optional ones as well. So, like I said, it's just a brilliant way to kind of get to grips with material. And if you're thinking of doing the King's Inn afterwards, so administrative law is one of the compulsory modules you need to sit the King's Inns. You're also given the option to study jurisprudence, which is the other one you need. So you could end the MCL being fully qualified to go in either direction. So in that sense, it's just a huge advantage of studying for a 2 year degree is getting that benefit to it. Um, Again, the structure, you've classes 5 days a week, and on top of that, you usually have seminars twice a week. And if if you're studying it, I really recommend going to all of these seminars. They're just brilliant ways to get really hands-on, in terms of getting into depth of the material. It's just fantastic. I think one of the questions I always get asked about the MCL by people who are studying is it hard? Is it difficult? Because it's a 2 year master's and you're essentially trying to get the equivalent of 4 year degree into 2 years. The answer is no, it's not. It's not hard. It's intensive. You do really hit the ground running with this degree. You're kind of expected to be able to get to grips with material quite quickly, which sounds really daunting, and was certainly one of the things that I found quite intimidating when I started. It's You have amazing support here in the Sutherland School of Law. I've been able to go to lecturers whenever I had a question about something, whenever I was stuck on something, and they were always willing to lend a hand. So it's not something I'd say be put off by the fact that it's intimidating. It's very much a doable task, all the things you're given. And because it's a larger course than most masters, your classes usually might range from about 25 to I think 40 people. So you do manage to have a nice sense of camaraderie then with people in terms of like everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone's finding it as intense as you are. And and I will also say, just because of the fact that it's intense doesn't mean necessarily that it is uh, a negative experience. I've only had a positive time doing it, and I think because of the fact that it's 2 years and it's spread out over that, you get into the pace of it very, very quickly, and it becomes really enjoyable. So yeah, for anyone thinking of doing it, I absolutely recommend it. In terms of assessment, it's a mixture of examinations and essays. In the first semester, it's pretty much all exams as far as I remember, and then they start to introduce assessments, like essays, into the second semester. And then depending on whatever optional modules you pick in the second year, I guess kind of split half and half. So yeah, you're very much assessed on all kind of skills. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what I would have to say about it, to be honest. Like for anyone thinking of doing it over 2 years, I would really, really recommend. So I'll pass back on to Imelda.
Thanks very much, Jamie. And for those non-EU people in or non-Irish in the room, they FE1s are the exams you need to take in order to become a solicitor. And in Ireland, the solicitor, we have a split legal profession of solicitors and barristers, and King's Inns is the bar. Thanks very much for that, Jamie. It was great. High praise. Thank you. We don't vet people in advance. They tell us. So, I hope you mean what you say. Great. Elliot, do you want to go next? Thanks to talk to us about the LLM in international commercial.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Imelda. So my name is Elliot. I'm doing the full-time international commercial law LLM. So to understand why I did a LLM and why UCD, I think we need to go back on my personal background. So I did a double degree between Toulouse and UCD during my undergrad. So I graduated from both university. And last year I did a master in Toulouse, and after that, I want to specialize in international arbitration and practice in an American or English law firms in Paris. I hope so, at least. And so, to integrate this type of law firm in France, LLM is almost a requirement, and especially from a recognized university, which UCD is. And so basically, after my master, I just applied to UCD for a master's degree because it's a really what I was searching for was an international environment, also with knowledgeable people to be taught by. And also because in Ireland, I wanted to know also more about white collar crimes, and I think UCD is the only Irish university who's providing this module. And arbitration's leading authority in arbitration, in my opinion, in Ireland, and it's my personal opinion, is Brian Hutchinson, who's providing the class during the second semester. That was the main interest for me to do my LLM in UCD. And so regarding the structure of the course, so it's a 1 year program for the full time. You have three trimesters. The first one which is kind of classical classes, and the second one too, and the third one is a dissertation or an arbitration project. You have 6 modules to choose during the year. You can spread them how you want. So I decided to do 3 for the first trimester and 3 for the second. But you can do 4 during the first semester and 2 during the second if you want to. Likewise, I decided to take the dissertation module. So regarding you have mandatory courses to modules to take. So you have corporate governance, international competition law, international arbitration, and advanced competition law. I hope I do not forget any. And then you have to pick 3 of them, of these 4 modules, and then you can choose uh, whatever modules you want to complete this to reach 6 modules, I think. And so the modules that I decided to choose are corporate governance, white collar crimes, and international competition law during the first trimester. And the second one, I chose cross-border litigation, international arbitration, and advanced issue on EU competition law. Regarding the time management, is it hard? As Jamie say, it's intense, but I think it's really doable. It's mainly, I would say, to differ from how it is different from undergraduate and graduate is that it's mainly independent work. I would say it's a lot of readings, but personally, I have time to do other personal project on the side, to have a social life, everything, because you see the campus life is really, really good. Like you have a lot of societies, especially in the Sutherland building. So I can only recommend this course. To be fair, the time commitment or it's really personal, I think, but personally, I try to allocate 3 to 4 hours to my readings per day when there is no class during the day, and it can differ when I have class, of course. Regarding the assessment method, it's mainly assignments. Like I think during this year, I just have one on-table exam during the second semester. So it's really research focus. And yes, I think that's what I wanted to say during this meeting. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn if you have any additional question. I'm really available and I will answer to any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Now my picture's coming and going. I'm sorry about that. You're very welcome. And thank you for your kind words, which brings us to the third speaker today, who is Emma. Emma is going to tell us about the LLM in EU law and governance. Thanks, Emma.
Hi everyone. Apologies, I'm a tiny bit sick. So I suppose a bit like the other two, I think it makes sense to give you guys a little bit of a background on me and why I chose to do the EU Law and Governance LLM. So as was mentioned before, I did my BCL in UCD in Law with Irish, and I went straight into my LLM. So I was very much set and excited to go back to UCD. To be honest, the quality of the classes at undergraduate level in UCD was so good that I didn't really look that much further than UCD in terms of looking into my master's options. So obviously the LLM in EU law and governance is obviously very suited to people who would like a career maybe in the EU institutions. Obviously someone who potentially might want to do PhD research, which I myself am thinking of. But it's very much, I think, a good foundation for someone who has an interest in, I suppose, any aspect of law. Obviously, with the LLM and EU law and governance, there are a couple of modules that are mandatory. For myself this semester, I had politics of European governments and law and governance of the EU. And I suppose in that case, I had obviously a politics module, which is outside of, my normal discipline, which was great to be able to kind of have a little bit of a foray into that and kind of see how it links with the law. I think from my perspective this semester, it's almost a relatively interdisciplinary approach in the sense that you have the politics class and the law class that have been mandatory. And one of the benefits of this as well is that my course is actually twinned kind of with as a sister course with the MSc in European governance. So you are dealing with people who are coming from quite different disciplines and you have lots of different, I guess, perspectives on things. I've noticed from my master's, there's been a lot more kind of group work, group discussion, kind of interaction with each other effectively as compared to, undergrad. I think it's a very different sort of environment than being in undergrad. I know myself, I've kind of avoided the on the table exams this semester, and I believe next semester as well. There's much more of an emphasis, like Elliot was saying, on written assignments and I suppose doing your own research, which is great. I think it definitely takes you from being, a younger person, almost when you're a teenager starting university, to doing some actual independent research. And it's a very good way of learning, perhaps if you would like to do research in the future, which I think has been great for me to know. Um, of course, you have those two mandatory modules, and then you have options that are so varied and, far and wide. Next semester, I'm signed up to do Law of Armed Conflict, Online Regulation, and AI Regulation. So there's obviously a huge amount of interdisciplinary action there. You have loads of different options in terms of what you'd like to learn about. And obviously, at the end of it, I'll come out with my EU Law and Governance LLM, but I'll still be able to study a lot of kind of other areas of law as well. So you don't need to be worried if you're kind of picking the LLM solely because you want that kind of qualification. There's a lot of opportunities for you to be able to study things outside of that. I myself, as my optional module this semester, did corporate governance with Elliot as well. So the classes are just phenomenal, honestly. I suppose just the testimonial of the fact that myself and Elliot both were involved with UCD for undergrad BCLs and have stayed on or come back for masters does say a lot about it. Equally, as I suppose Elliot was saying, we have an incredible campus life here as well. The law school is such a supportive environment, and it makes such a difference having that kind of building, the faculty area where you do bump into the lecturers at the coffee shop, you bump into each other, and it's very easy to kind of meet and make friends. I know myself, I obviously did my undergraduate degree in UCD, and I was very worried all my friends were gone and how would I make friends? But they make it so easy. When you go in for your orientation, there's usually a session where you get to meet other people in your LLM specifically, or, kind of sister courses, and they make it so fabulous. I myself am involved in society life on campus as well. I run one of the societies, so it's one of those kinds of things. Like you can do that at master's level. It is very much self-directed learning. I guess you'll get what you put into it. You could, in theory, go to classes, do your readings, set aside your times. You can kind of juggle it yourself. I work part-time as well, but it's doable. And all the lecturers, I think, because you are at a graduate level, are very much understanding to the fact that you have a variety of different commitments. So I have no bad things to say about the law school. It has been fabulous for undergrad, and I've loved it so much. For masters as well. Of course, we have a dissertation like most of the other LLMs, and that'll be during the summer kind of period. I believe for myself and for my year anyway, we have to submit our dissertation titles on the 8th of December. Before that, you don't need to worry. You have a module kind of throughout the year about the dissertation, and you've had a couple of different lectures at this stage kind of talking you through designing a research question, everything like that. Because I know for a lot of people, a thesis at undergraduate level isn't mandatory. I didn't do it for my undergraduate, but I feel quite like I have a solid baseline going forward to doing the dissertation this year. But the support is fabulous. So I would say you should never be afraid to reach out. If you do decide to sign on to do the MCL or the LLM, the staff are nothing but supportive. And I suppose everyone wants to be there. Everyone's thrilled that you want to learn. So never be afraid to reach out. But yeah, that's kind of all from me.
Thanks very much, Emma. That's great. We're very happy to have it. Oops, we have a.
I have a couple of questions, actually. I'll just interrupt you there.
Okay.
My name is Una Kelly, and I'm the marketing manager here. And I have a number of questions were submitted to me in advance, and then a couple of questions are coming in into the chat box there. Someone's asking when we can first start applying. The reality is, since the 1st of October, applications opened on the 1st of October. So I'd get your application in now. And I'll combine that then with another question. Someone was asking about the MCL. When do they need to apply for the MCL specifically? We have found over the last couple of years that the demand for the Masters in Common Law is very high. So we would suggest with it in particular that you apply sooner rather than later, because we may have to go to a waiting list on it next year. We were very close to doing so this year. So anyway, as I say, sooner rather than later with the MCL. And then there's a question for international students studying law at UCD, will they complete a 1-year or a 2-year master's degree? All of our masters are 1 year, except for the masters in common law, which Jamie spoke about. If you can actually do them part-time over 2 years, but that wouldn't really be relevant for an international student, I think. Okay, I have some specific questions then for our panelists. In terms of the LLM International Commercial Law, somebody's been looking up the online course descriptor, Elliot, and they're just asking about whether you have chosen to take the dissertation or the arbitration module in terms of they are the two core modules as I see in this particular LLM.
So I chose a dissertation, even though I want to specialize in arbitration, and my choice is quite simple, is that I'm already committing to several arbitration projects. So I'm coaching for the William Civis Moot Court in my former university. I'm doing the sport arbitration moot court this year, so I decided to go for the dissertation, which I will write on the comparative view of the legal privilege and professional secrecy of the lawyers, comparative study between the UK, Ireland, and France.
Great. Thanks, Elliot. The next question relates to the Masters in Common Law, Jamie. And I suppose the question really is how many contact hours are there, and what is your commitment in terms of study? Because this person is saying, is it feasible to work part-time while doing the Masters in Common Law? And I know it is fairly intense in terms of hours, so maybe you could give an indication of the time commitment in an average week.
Yeah, so in terms of time commitment, it's for first year anyway, it's 6 modules. So 6 lectures a week, which is 2 hours each. So you're doing 12 hours of lectures a week. On top of that, you will usually, starting about week 3, it's always going to be 2 seminars in a week. So that's an extra 4 hours that you need to do. So overall lectures, that's 16 hours. So you are in Monday to Friday, which is, I think, when like why the main reason that it's intensive is because of that. You are on campus 5 days a week. Like none of these modules are online; they're all in person. In terms of study hours, then it, it's usually I'd say you'd want to be doing about 2 hours of reading per module for, I don't say like every day, but certainly it's a difficult kind of question to answer because intensive is kind of in terms of how much you need to be reading for each module. I would say definitely about 2 to 4 hours a week. So in that respect, yeah, it is. It does eat up a lot of your time. Now, I did manage a part-time job while I was in my first year. I would be working about 1 day a week. But I do know people who did work 2 days a week, people who worked 3 days a week, and everyone has a different kind of endurance with these sort of things. I found I could only manage 1 day a week because it is so intensive, because I felt that I needed the weekend as well to cover some of this work. Um, but I know some people who were able to just go to work anyway. So yeah, you would be here 5 days a week and it will eat up most of your day. Like I find that I'm in usually from about 10 o'clock to 6, 7. But that's just because I have quite a big commute, so I'll stay behind to try work in the library, whereas I know people who go home early. So it really depends on you, the person, is what I'd say, and what your personal situation is.
Great. Thanks, Jamie. Imelda, someone is asking about the structure of the LLM General. Maybe you could address that, please.
And the students it's the same as for the other masters in the sense that it's 2 semesters of classes with 3 modules in each semester, and then a dissertation over the summer, with the dissertation module preparing you for that from November of the program. The main difference is you're not committed to any particular core modules. So people tend to do the LLM General if they don't want to be identified with a particular subdiscipline. They don't want to be known as the human rights lawyer or the intellectual property lawyer, and they want to be able to choose from a range of subjects. That's my impression anyway. as to why people would do the LLM general.
Great, thank you. And there's a question about internal scholarships or financing. I don't know if that means that's a UCD student, but the reality is we do have some scholarships which I would refer you to on the website. Actually, what I'll do is I'll email all attendees with a link to any of the scholarship information. But just to say that SUSI grants are for anybody who's on an undergraduate SUSI grant. This is relevant now to domestic students, really more so than EU or international. But SUSI grants are applicable also for master's students. So that's something that you should look out or look into also. Then I just a question for Emma in relation to EU law and governance. In terms of you were saying that I think you were saying that you're interested in going the doctoral route to study a PhD, but from your impression from other classmates, is it to prepare for a role in a European law firm, or what are people's ambitions generally on this particular master's, do you think?
I'd imagine that on this particular master's, we're a small cohort in my own personal group for the LLM, but as we have sister courses, I guess what people want to do is very, very varied. A lot of people would want to work kind of, in advocacy in European law firms. A lot of people have a language background, a bit like myself. I did undergraduate Irish as well. My kind of ambition there was to be what's called a Lee Hangoli, which is a lawyer linguist with the Irish language. So personally, that was the choice for undergrad. I think most people do want to work in an EU institution, realistically. And we were quite lucky with my cohort this year, where a few of us were given an option to go on a study trip to Brussels to see some of the European institutions and see what they look like in practice. So there are obviously lots of opportunities with it. And to be honest, all the lecturers are so invested in what they do, that there's a lot of guidance being offered there as well. So I suppose if you don't have those kinds of connections, or you feel like, you don't have maybe an in with that kind of thing, you shouldn't be worried or discouraged because all the lecturers are so willing to help with that kind of thing.
Great, thanks, Emma. And then another question, just to clarify something for Jamie in relation to the Masters in Common Law. Because it's a 2-year Masters, do you get the summers off, or do you have to work on projects throughout the summer when you're going from first year to second year with the MCL?
Yeah, no, you get the whole summer off. So we finish up with our assignments in mid-May, and then we start up back again in mid-September. So no, you absolutely don't have any projects to start during the summer. There is a dissertation you can do. I forgot to mention that at the start, that you have the option to start a dissertation, but you would not be starting that until your second year. I didn't pick the dissertation myself, so I'm not 100% sure when the end date is for it. I don't think though that it's before the end of the next summer. So no, I think when it's summer, you're on your break, which is it's much needed.
Right. I'm conscious I just noticed that someone's asked a question about international human rights law. And just to say, obviously, we have such a wide selection of master's options in the Sutherland School of Law. We couldn't cover all today, unfortunately, but we would have been here for hours if we'd had students from all of the programs. But we do have a very interesting human rights LLM. And I would suggest that if you can, go onto the course catalogue, the UCD course catalogue, and have a look at all of the modules on offer there. There are some really, really interesting modules. So do a little bit of research on that yourself. Because we don't have anybody to address it specifically for you here. But please email us. And I'm going to say this to everyone, if you haven't seen my note in the chat, we have an email address to take any queries after this webinar. It's lawpostgraduate@ucd.ie. I'll put it into the chat again, but email us afterwards if, as I say, go do a little bit of research on the website and then come to us with any specific questions. We're also very willing to get our program directors, they would be the academic program directors, to set up Zoom calls with really interested candidates. So please follow up with that if we haven't addressed your particular area of interest in the webinar today. So how are we for time? We have another few minutes. I'll have another look at any questions, unless anyone else has anything to add. Just in terms of Elliot, did you say that you plan to practice in France then with this qualification?
Yes, I do plan to sit the French bar exam next September, so after the LLM.
So we're going to lose you to France, are we, after all of this?
Sadly.
Okay, our loss, their gain. Yeah. Okay, I think those are all the questions, and apologies to anyone whose question I didn't get to answer. I just see that we're about to finish up on time here. Please do email, as I said, on lawpostgraduate@ucd.ie, or check out our website, the UCD Law website, which has links to all of the different masters that we offer. So maybe I'll hand over to the Dean for a final word.
Thanks, Una. Thank you, everybody, for coming along today. It's nice for us to see interest in what we do. And for me, it's really nice to hear the students talk about their programs. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Elliot. Thanks, Una, for organising this as well. Appreciate the work that goes. Things go smoothly because there's an awful lot of work done in the background. So we're very appreciative of that. And as I said, I hope to see some of you in September. But between now and then, I know there's many queries that may come up. So please do feel free to send any questions in, and we'll do our best to answer them as best we can. Thanks very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.